100% of women at the end of pregnancy have a diastasis to accommodate for the lengthening of their abs from a growing belly. 60% have one at 6 weeks postpartum, and 39% still have one at 6 months postpartum. This goes to show that some naturally resolve on their own, while others might need a little extra help. When they don't heal on their own, it could be about addressing pressure management issues, core imbalances, and looking at the kinetic chain. So let's explore some exercises, potential kinetic chain contributing factors, and focused core work for that troublesome lower diastasis. First, we're going to take a look at ribcage mobility on the inhale. If someone has limited ribcage mobility on the inhale, more of the movement is going to occur in their belly, constantly over-lengthening healing tissues of a diastasis. I might try something like child's pose breathing to improve lateral and posterior ribcage expansion and to help balance out that distribution of pressure on the inhale. Now, when it comes to the exhale, overactive upper abs can put extra pressure down onto those lower abs and pelvic floor. This exhale is set up by the inhale, but also can be an independent factor of its own. Ribcage mobility drills, again, like the child's pose breathing or the ribcage smash, can help strengthen those intercostal muscles in between those ribs and improve ribcage mobility on both the inhale and the exhale to help down-regulate those upper abs and decrease pressure down onto the lower abs for a more balanced core engagement and exhale. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the pelvis. A pelvis that is in more of an anterior pelvic tilt is going to position those lower abs into a more lengthened position. This makes it hard for them to engage and is constantly putting strain through that healing fascia. Addressing other soft tissue imbalances, such as overly lengthened hamstrings or a tight lumbar paraspinals, is going to help support those lower abs. You might try something like a foot elevated bridge to help shorten those hamstrings and reposition that pelvis out of the anterior pelvic tilt. Maybe you do some prone breathing over a ball to decrease lumbar stiffness that can help the lower abs not have as much tension to work against when they're trying to engage. Both can help reposition the pelvis to not put that constant strain through those lower abs. Now, when it comes to the pelvis, we also want to consider what is happening on the backside of the pelvis and with glute function. Posterior hip stiffness and the inability to eccentrically lengthen in the glutes can either contribute to a pelvis being in a posterior pelvic tilt or an anterior pelvic tilt. It will also position the pelvis into more of an inlet ER position, which is going to position those lower abs into more of a lengthened position. Whereas when we get that nice eccentric glute lengthening, we can see how that's going to support those lower abs and get them into a more shortened position. We also want to think about what is happening with that glute contraction and hip extension mechanics. If someone has poor glutes with hip extension, then they might just dump forward into an anterior pelvic tilt because they're driving that extension from their spine instead of from their hips. And then we get back into that issue of those tight paraspinals and that pelvis position into more of an anterior pelvic tilt. You can work on moves like a split stance hip hinge with a knee reference, where we're looking to drive the movement from the glutes and the pelvis rather than from the spine or the knee to help make sure that the action is driven from the glutes in both directions for both the eccentric lengthening and the concentric contraction to support the lower abs. To support this concept with the pelvis being able to do inlet IR, internal rotation, we're going to consider what is happening with those adductors. The adductors help facilitate that inlet IR by pulling those sit bones wider. This is going to position those lower abs into more of a shortened position and feed into the fascial connection that the adductors have with the front pelvic floor and lower TAs. Working on moves like an adductor pullback or sideline leg lifts can help improve adductor strength, pelvis position, and femur position that can all support the lower abs. We can't leave the pelvis without considering what is happening in the pelvic floor. Too often people with a diastasis don't think that they need to address what's happening in their pelvic floor. However, more often than not, there's something to be addressed. Looking at the pelvic floor also helps to make sure that you're not closing one leak in the pressure of a diastasis and directing it somewhere else like the pelvic floor. A tight posterior pelvic floor can contribute to more of the inhale going into the lower abs. It is also associated with a pelvis that is in more of that inlet external rotation position. A weak anterior pelvic floor can negatively affect the lower ab strength as well. I'll have people explore dynamic inverted hip shifts to see how well they can shift off of one side of their pelvis and onto another to address imbalances in the hips and pelvic floor. Once again, this also ties into appropriate glute function. Last but not least, let's take a look at what's happening in those lower abs. The most effective core exercises for lower ab strengthening can depend on the diastasis itself. The rectus abdominis narrows the diastasis, and the transverse abdominals help improve tension across it. Decreased depth is prioritized over width because of its importance of pelvic and spinal stability and the transfer of load from one side of the body onto the other. That being said, depending on your diastasis, whether it's really wide or you can sink in really far, you might emphasize strengthening one muscle group over the other. Some examples of exercises to decrease depth would be something like a dead bug or balloon breathing with an adductor squeeze, making sure you're feeling those ASIS come towards each other and it's not just a belly button to spine. If you're looking to decrease width, you might explore more flexion-loaded moves like a seated roll back or a reverse crunch. These can be particularly important for those in more of an anterior pelvic tilt. You just have to make sure that as you load the exercise, you're doing it at the level that you can also maintain a balanced transverse abdominal engagement and flattening of your abs during the exercise. Lastly, let's not forget about strengthening abs in the transverse plane, as is an often missed plane to work in when it comes to core strengthening. This can help make our core more dynamic by connecting one side of our body to the other and teaching our core how to eccentrically lengthen and concentrically shorten. Working on lower body rolling, where we're focusing on moving one half of the pelvis up and other, complements the inlet intra-rotation moves of glute lengthening and adductor squeezes. You might also explore half kneeling rotations with an internal oblique focus to help get more lower abs out of the exercise. No matter what exercise, remember that you're looking for that progressive overload of a little bit of challenge. Too little and the muscles aren't stimulated enough to rebuild, but too much and you put too much strain through the tissue, which will hinder its healing. I hope you've enjoyed this kinetic chain tour of how to support a healing diastasis. Some people only need to address progressive core strengthening, while others might to look at what's going on from head to toe. You could even have someone with calf strength or lack thereof affecting a diastasis. So if you're struggling to reduce a diastasis, it might be time to not just think about what you're doing, but how you're doing it, and maybe to look beyond the core. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This helps make sure that you're continuing to get information sent straight to you and notified whenever we have new content available. If you're a movement or fitness professional and want to learn more, make sure to check out the description below for more details about our continuing education opportunities. And I'll see you in the next video.